elected at constituencies. At constituencies. And in that election, they must receive a majority of votes in at least half the constituencies in the Republic of Kenya. What I'm trying to say, it has come out, and I say this with utmost respect, that the Deputy President who stands here on trial by the Senate would assume that he was elected to represent the interests of a certain region. Whereas the Constitution is clear, he's elected by the whole country. He's got no area to protect. Under the old Constitution, the President had to be elected from a constituency, a Vice President had to be elected from a constituency as a member of Parliament. This Constitution has no similar provisions. And now when you come to the functions of the Deputy President, and I think this is extremely important in the kind of relationship that there should be between the President and the Deputy President, it says so in the following words, which I need to read for clarity in terms of the Deputy President. And those are found in Article 147, that he shall be the principal assistant, deputized for the President in the execution of the President functions, and also he may be assigned duties by the President. The kind of symbiotic relationship that should exist between the President and the Deputy President is underlined in this Constitution. Now, it is uncontestable, and I think this is the issue that I want to deal with in some detail. It is uncontestable from the record that you have, even from the Deputy President, that the words he is accused to have uttered, where he alleges that Kenya is like a company existing of shareholders, that does not sit with the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Kenya is not a republic that is established on the basis of shareholding. It's a republic of citizens. So when a Deputy President talks about taking the interests of Watu Murima, for whatever that would mean, it is not in compliance with his constitutional remit. And the words are there. What he has said in public on this issue is very clear. The second issue is on the question of collective responsibility. You would find out from this Constitution that in nearly all the important constitutional bodies established under the Constitution, the Deputy President is a member of those particular institutions or organs, like the National Security Council. So one would wonder where even the issue of the Director of Intelligence would be discussed in a public forum by the Deputy President when he is the second in command in the National Security Intelligence as established under the Constitution. So I would want, and I plead with the Senate, look at the utterances of the Deputy President vis-a-vis his role under the Constitution. And he has even said that where he has said certain things that are deemed to be insightful, that is protected speech. It cannot be protected speech under our Constitution, because under Article 33 of the Constitution, because of what we have undergone as a nation, Article 33, sub-article 2, has a limitation that the expressions that extend to propaganda for war, incitement to violence, hate speech, advocacy of hatred, that cannot be protected speech. Now, the other very important point, which I want to put before the Senate, sometime in February 2017, the Deputy President traveled to London. And he went to a hospital in London where his brother was admitted in ICU. When he arrived the next day, he prevailed upon his brother to execute a will. That was on the 17th of February, 2017. In that trip, there is no evidence at all that he tried to talk to doctors or physicians who are looking after his own brother. After those visits, he walked away. And 7 days later...
Mr. Speaker, I rise to raise an objection.
Can I proceed?
Mr. Speaker, we owe the Deputy President very elementary decency. We owe it to the Deputy President to be basically decent in these proceedings. I want to know whether counsel at the bar, one, can adduce this kind of evidence that is not contained in any evidentiary material before the Senate. I want to know which ground in the 11 grounds in the impeachment motion is this evidence from the bar supporting. I repeat, Mr. Speaker, we owe the Deputy President the most basic decency. I object.
Senior Counsel Orengo, those amendments, are they contained?
They are contained, they're all here.
And refer to the document.
Volume 4. I am not referring, because if I've got to refer to every document, will take a lot of time, and I have only 30 minutes. If you look at volume 4 of this document on public participation, from page
Volume 4 of the National Assembly.
Of the National Assembly.
Pages?
Pages 114 to...
In fact, it is the Deputy President who has also relied on that will. It's also part of his defense.
Yes. And in fact, this page is also called Tender Will. And the Deputy President is the one who is relying on this will. The death certificate is contained on page 119. And it shows the only person who attended the deceased, the brother of the Deputy President at that time, was his daughter, was the only person present. And then there's the will. And in the documents on page 128, and this is why I was raising this matter, on page 128, there's a letter by Mr. Madenge and Mr. Njoroge Rigeru, who together with Mr. Rigathi Gachagua were the joint will executors. And they're complaining about the conduct and action of the Deputy President as an executor of the will and a family member of the late Rigathi Gachagua. On page 129, paragraph 8, there, and it says, from bank statements to this, for this account seen by us, you transferred some funds from these accounts to other persons as follows. On the date when Gachagua died on the 24th. The deputy president was already withdrawing money. On the day he died, and that day when he died, he was there only with his daughter. And then they say on the 19th of May, 2017, again, another money was withdrawn and paid to Mrs. Wamunyuro Investment Limited. This story, you will find it in the documentation. And part of it is what Mr. Njomo was saying.
Counsel for Deputy President, just have your seat. When your time comes, you'll be able to make the rebuttals. Proceed, Senior Counsel.
How many minutes do I have?
Mr. Speaker, I respect your direction. I'm willing to take a seat right away, but just to point out something. The document you are being referred to is the document you held in abeyance because it was given to us later for purposes of our consideration. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, you remember that my learned colleague talked about how my client traveled to London, how without talking to any doctor. These are factual claims, Mr. Speaker, that are just coming from the bar. Mr. Speaker, number three, the opening statement speaks to the motion and the grounds in the motion. I beseech this House direct that parties restrict themselves to the motion and the grounds in the motion. The facts you are now being referred to have no basis in the motion and the grounds in the motion, unless Senior Counsel, His Excellency Governor Rengo, can draw your attention to any ground in the motion that those facts are not addressing. I repeat what I said, Mr. Speaker. The ruling is yours. We owe it to the Deputy President and the integrity of our checks and balances institutions to maintain basic decency in these proceedings. I rest.
In fact,
Counsel, I cannot tell you how you're going to make your opening statements. If you're going outside the allegations, that's up to you. The senators are here listening, and they'll be able to make the necessary decision at the end of it. Now, Senior Counsel Orengo, there's an environment that you've made that the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, on a certain date that you indicated, traveled to London.
yes. The evidence
visit
is,
his sick brother.
yes.
And on the side of the sickbed, he made his brother sign a will. Is that contained anywhere in the documents from the National Assembly?
My Lord,
factual?
Mr. Speaker, if you look at volume 4 from the pages that I indicated, right from page 113, it shows what flight he took, at what time, a British Airways flight on the 16th, and arrived in London on the 17th. The only business that comes out from that document and his documents is that he got a will signed, and there is no further evidence of his activities in London until 24th, when the only activity in which he didn't participate was to be present when his brother died in London. But all this I'm saying in relation to the allegations that we have against the Deputy President.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Counsel, ordinarily, no objections are raised during the 30 minutes of the opening statement. Ordinarily. I have tried to accommodate, but now you're stretching my generosity a bit too far. Allow Senior Counsel Orengo to conclude. In your opening statement, you may choose to make a rejoinder.
What I want to conclude is this. From what I've said, from the way his brother's account were raided, that was continued in to the time when All Life Guidance was acquired for a sale by proxy of 412 million shillings. He bought a property in Nyeri, the outspan and treetops for an amount exceeding 800 million shillings. And we're saying part of that money was not money coming from him, and evidence will show that he was raiding monies that truly belonged to the estate of his late brother to acquire property. If that is not an offense by law, these were proceeds of crime committed by the deputy president to acquire property. And to drive this point home, the judgment by Justice Minor, which is also part of the record, where she made a determination, and that judgment stands, that the 200 million shillings that was found in an account with a financial institution in excess of 200 million shillings were proceeds of crime. And that 200 million shillings, again, the documentation here, if you look at it and we show it in evidence, was the same money that was used to acquire treetops and Aberdares as part of the money that his sons were able to use to acquire those properties. So we are saying that the acquisition of these properties came out of criminal conduct, and all the particulars of the criminal conduct is found in the documents that were presented before the Senate. Now, Mr. Speaker, I think that it is critical that we look at the authority of the office of the Deputy President vis-a-vis that of the President, the doctrine of collective responsibility. And I showed why the office of the Deputy President is so important in carrying certain functions so long as he lives to the true spirit of the Constitution. Many times, and the incidents have been shown, acts of insubordination, like when he issued a press statement in Mombasa after the president himself had issued a statement that went contrary, absolute insubordination to the president, who is his boss. And if really one can talk about insubordination, that was an act of insubordination. Lastly, the other issue that I need to bring out quickly is that the Constitution and the Senate is aware of the fact that at the end of, at every 5 years, you pass a basis for allocation of resources here in the Senate. And they abide by certain principles which are contained in Article 203 of the Constitution. This issue about certain areas being preferred because they're shareholders goes against the very spirit of the Constitution. Or the notion that people can be appointed into government on the basis of how they voted or on the basis that they are shareholders, that is not again borne by the Constitution, because the executive authority that is granted to the executive requires that even in allocation of revenue and appointment of people to serve in the public service must depend on regional balance. So to talk about shareholders, to talk about some people being able to reap on the basis of shareholding, that is repugnant and in conflict with the provisions in our Constitution. Now, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say this with all the seriousness it deserves. This Constitution is supposed to work. It's supposed to work. And it can only work if state officers are compliant with the provisions of the Constitution.
2 minutes to wind up.
Yeah. Well, if they're compliant with the provisions of the Constitution. The doctrine of collective responsibility and the authority of members of the cabinet spring from the fact that they are all individually and collectively responsible to the president. If that primary principle cannot be applied, then it will be difficult for any government elected to function in a manner that it can deliver services to the people of the Republic of Kenya. So I urge this Honorable Senate that having painted that large picture, the next phase, when you are now going to listen to the evidence and look at the exhibits that we have attached, you will find that a strong case has been made out for the impeachment and removal from office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And this Senate should not shy away from undertaking that responsibility. It does not matter that there is a matter that could be taken to DCI or to the AACC. The role of Senate is different to undertake oversight over those who are given a responsibility to manage the affairs of the country. And that does not depend on the role of any other agency or body created by the Constitution. Your role is to demonstrate to all people in state offices that this oversight role that you play, whether it is that of impeachment, to demonstrate to the people of Kenya that it is not cosmetic. And where there's evidence, like the evidence that we are showing and adducing before you, that person
I'm afraid, Senior Counsel, your time is up.
should suffer the consequence. I thank you. I thank you.
Counsel for the Deputy President. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, distinguished senators. My name is Elisha Ongoya. I stand here to make the Deputy President's opening statement. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, to open by reminding us some fundamental principles. We are sitting here today as a Senate to discharge a constitutional mandate. And before you are given the cudgels to start discharging any mandate in this Senate, the Constitution demanded that you had to take an oath of office before you do anything else. I now understand better why that oath of office was prescribed and why it was framed the way it was framed. The Deputy President reminds you the following terms in your oath of office before you assumed office to discharge the functions of senators. You have to bear true faith, and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya. You have to obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Kenya. And you have to faithfully and conscientiously discharge your duties as members of the Senate. I submit respectfully that the case regarding the proposal to remove the Deputy President from office by impeachment may appear to put the Deputy President on trial, but that is only in the most technical sense of this process. At a more significant level, What is on trial throughout these proceedings is the resilience and steadfastness of our Constitution, our constitutional institutions of checks and balances, and actually their capacity to withstand any form of waves and pressures. That is what is truly on trial. His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua beseeches this House to keep in mind that we have a constitution, a constitutional order, and a constitutional democracy to protect as we conduct these proceedings and as we make decisions in these proceedings. He asks you that at the end of this exercise, let our constitution, our constitutional democracy, and our constitutional order emerge stronger. Allow me to address this House on the defined standard for impeachment of the Deputy President. In a comparable decision by the Supreme Court of Kenya, the case of Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko versus the Clerk, County Assembly of Nairobi and others, the Supreme Court observed as follows, and I quote, "It must, however, be stressed for the avoidance of doubt that the power of impeachment, removal, or recall is not one expected to be in constant or frequent exercise. It is only in the face of credible evidence of extraordinary wrongdoing that the conduct of a state officer will be investigated, and even then, only upon sufficient proof of the allegations that the impeachment, removal, or recall would be warranted." Two questions we pose must constantly linger in your minds, distinguished senators, as you undertake the assignment now before you. Question number one, we beseech you to bear in mind the question, is there credible evidence of extraordinary wrongdoing on the part of His Excellency Honorable Rigathi Gachagua before you? Number two, is there sufficient proof of the allegations leveled against His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua? Article 150, Clause 1, Paragraph B, sets out the grounds for removal of a deputy president from office by impeachment. These grounds are, number one, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. We emphasize the drafter's use of the word gross. Serious reasons to believe that the deputy president has committed a crime under national or international law. Again, we emphasize the word serious, then gross misconduct. Surmises, conjecture, street rumors cannot pass muster. This conduct must be the conduct of the person of the deputy president. It is sufficiently notorious for this court to take judicial notice of when the late Rigathi Gachagua, whose will is now referred to here, died. You are told to investigate the conduct of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua at a time, or at the time around which his brother, His Excellency Governor Rigathi Gachagua, as he then was, died. It is sufficiently notorious that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua was not Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. But that's not enough. You will peruse the motion before you with a view to finding which ground in that motion is sought to be established by these allegations around what may or may not have happened around the time the late Rigathi Gachagua died. You will find absolutely no ground supported by those allegations. Let me disclose here. It is designed to whip your emotions. It has no other purpose. Looking at your oath of office that I've alluded to, there is no room for your emotions to be whipped as the basis of decision-making in any act that you engage into in the discharge of your constitutional mandate and responsibilities. What does our Constitution expect of the mover of the motion in proceedings of this nature? Our Constitution expects the mover of the motion to make allegations of any or all the grounds set out in Article 150, Clause 1, Paragraph B of the Constitution. And to begin by submitting, it is true that the mover of this motion has written down some allegations in Volume 1 of the documents from the National Assembly. Secondly, the mover of the motion is thereafter expected to supply credible evidence of an extraordinary wrongdoing and sufficient proof of the allegations against the Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, we submit that is where the mover of this motion ought to start having problems with this House when he's called upon to account. It is the submission of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua that the motion now before you has fallen short of the threshold set by law by multiple miles. When you examine the material before you, you will discover that it will oscillate between the following categories of stages. One, you will have material before you that just plainly false. Then from falsehood, it will go to the ridiculous ones, and I'll demonstrate that shortly. There'll be ridiculous claims here. Then finally, it will end up into embarrassing claims. Allow me, in the few minutes I have, to just do a sneak preview of some of these claims so that we have an overview of the case that is before you. At paragraph 74B of the first volume, which is the impeachment motion, you will find an allegation of this nature that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has influenced his family members, allies, associates, and proxies to take control of a local cooperative society in Madeira, which they are financially hemorrhaging. Number one, no name of any family member is supplied in the allegation or in any of the evidentiary documents before you. No name of any ally is supplied in the motion or in any of the documents before you. No name of any associate is supplied, even a false name, none, is supplied in the motion and in the documents before you. No name of any proxy is supplied in the motion or in any of the documents before you. The name of the alleged circle is not identified. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, being called to defend yourself on a claim that you have taken over through your associates a circle that we don't know. Told, now come and defend yourself. I began by saying some of these claims are either ridiculous or embarrassing. Secondly, at paragraph 74A, you'll be told that His Excellency has connived with cartels in the tea sector to block the Kenya Tea Development Agency from implementing guaranteed minimum returns that would benefit tea farmers. No statement, no affidavit, no correspondence from any official of the Kenya Tea Development Agency is before you. No complaint to any agency, no complaint to this parliament by any official of the Kenya Tea Development Agency is before you. It's just a claim which the mover of this motion said before the National Assembly, and surprisingly, to those of us who have some residual faith in our institution, he told the National Assembly, just believe my word for what it is. And when we thought that was a joke, we got a joke lifted a notch higher. The National Assembly actually just believed his word for what it is. No evidence. Nothing in the affidavits before you addresses anything about the Kenya Tea Development Agency. Nothing in the 5 affidavits before you. Let's progress, good people. Paragraph 72 of the motion before you states that His Excellency has persistently undermined, demeaned, and committed insubordination instead of assisting the President. And let's face it, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, if you accuse somebody of insubordination, the only person who can complain of being insubordinated is the supervisor. No statement from the President, no affidavit from the President, even no witness summons to the President has been sought here to call him to complain he has been insubordinated. The Deputy President, when he received this motion, wrote to the Secretary to the Cabinet requesting to be supplied by all assignments given to him by the President and any that he has not delivered. To date, as we stand here, we have not received a response to that letter. And yet we shall be told, just believe the mover of this motion, the Member of Parliament for Kibwezi West constituency, that when he is oscillating between the National Assembly and Kibwezi West to serve his people, he knows better than the supervisor of the Deputy President that the Deputy President has insubordinated his boss. I began by observing they will move from the false through the ridiculous to the embarrassing, and these are the claims before you. At paragraph 64, paragraph A of the impeachment motion, you will be told that His Excellency, the Deputy President, said that he would present a petition for the removal of Justice Esther Maina from office, which he has not done to date. Mr. Speaker, sir, my eyes are normally problematic, so I will not know the time allocation.
15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. The claim is that His Excellency publicly said that he would present a petition for the removal of Justice Esther Maina from office, which he has not done to date. That's the complaint. Evidence is before you that there is a pending complaint by His Excellency, the Deputy President, before the Judicial Service Commission. So the mover of this motion first has perjured himself in his affidavit by saying that each of these facts are correct, when this fact is false, by evidence available. You will find that paragraph 34 of the motion before you, it says that His Excellency falsely threatened to file a petition for removal of Justice Esther Maina. How can the Deputy President be accused of falsely threatening when in fact he has filed the complaint? Where is the falsehood when there is a pending complaint? That complaint is before you in the Deputy President's documents for your own perusal. I began by saying they'll move from the false through the ridiculous to the embarrassing. At paragraph 78C, you'll be told that His Excellency routinely summons procurement officers in ministries and state institutions and instructs them to direct procurement of goods and services in a specific manner. No officer from any ministry will swear an affidavit claiming to have been summoned to award any procurement for any goods or any services in a particular manner. In fact, what you'll have before you is actually very ridiculous. You will be told that there was a tender for supply of mosquito nets that was cancelled in May 2023. Then a local company that was an agent of the supplier was following for the return of its bid bond in July, 2 months after the cancellation of the tender. How can you influence a tender that was cancelled 2 months ago? I told you it will move from the false through the ridiculous to the embarrassing. Now, the more interesting one is at paragraph 78A. You will be told that His Excellency bullied Kenya Medical Supplies Agency officials into awarding a tender for the supply of mosquito nets to Crystal Limited. Good people, Crystal Limited was not even a bidder for that tender. He pressurized people to award it to somebody who is not even a bidder for that tender. I observed it will move from the false through the ridiculous to the embarrassing. Those of us who understand this motion for what it is, understand why these panel beating maneuvers are being tried here. The motion as presented and approved by the National Assembly will remain in our constitutional history as the most embarrassing motion ever approved by a House of Parliament in the Commonwealth. We respectfully submit. You'll be told at paragraph 58 that His Excellency is reasonably suspected to be the principal beneficiary of what are called dubious transactions by Lusona Events Limited. You will then go to the allegations on Lusona Events Limited, and you want to see those transactions, how are they terminating to the Deputy President? You'll not come across any connection. They'll just say, a director of this company withdrew some money from his own company. The Deputy President is a director. None of his family members are director. That person withdrew money from his company, bought a motor vehicle in his own name. The mover will say, I'm therefore drawing a reasonable conclusion that the Deputy President is the beneficiary of this. Good people, the word reasonable has meaning known to law. I submit very respectfully that this falls short of the definition of the word reasonable suspicion. I submit it actually gravitates towards unreasonable suspicion. Now let's look at this. You'll be told that His Excellency has acquired 40 acres of land in Kakuret, Kamburaini in Nyeri. Evidence before you will show that this is land that the Deputy President, in fact, bought from a current member of the National Assembly. So he knows that member. In 2015, before he even joined state office as a member of parliament, you are told that the purchase of this land in 2015 shows that in the last 2 years, the Deputy President has amassed immense wealth. I began by saying, let's be elementarily decent. One of the most frustrating things about preparing for such a hopelessly conceptualized, hopelessly crafted, and hopelessly presented case is that you begin doubting yourself because you begin wondering, what am I not seeing? Land bought from a sitting member of the National Assembly in the year 2015 is supposed to be evidence that in the last 2 years, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has amassed immense wealth from the office of the President to acquire that property. Now, let's look at paragraph 45G. You'll be told that His Excellency has acquired 80 acres of land in Meru County. No land registration number is provided. Not even an affidavit of a neighbor who says, I know yes, this land is my neighbor. Just an allegation by the mover of this motion like that. And the Swahili say, ukistaajabu ya Musa utaona Firauni. This mover of this motion stood before the National Assembly and said, just believe me for this statement as it is. The first joke. The second joke, the National Assembly actually believed him and approved the motion. You'll be told that paragraph 45H, that His Excellency has acquired a dairy farm in Nyandarua County. Now, I guess we all have a common understanding of what a dairy farm is. His Excellency has no dairy farm in Nyandarua County. The move of this motion does not give us any evidence of this dairy farm in Nyandarua County. You'll be told that His Excellency has used the office of the deputy president to corruptly influence unnecessary and expensive renovation of his official residence in Karen and Mombasa. What will shock you is this, good people. The contract for the renovation of the official residence of the deputy president was signed by the controller of State House. Unless the move of this motion wants to make a claim that the deputy president conspired with the State House to have this contract executed. Number two, it will be known to all of us as members of parliament that the money for renovation of this official residence was approved by the National Assembly. Is the National Assembly conceding that it approved money for unnecessary expenditure by government? How can the National Assembly approve money for use for renovation of the residence of the deputy president, then after that money is used for the intended purpose, the renovation of the official residence of the president, now drag the deputy president for impeachment for the reason of that renovation? I said it will move through the ridiculous to the embarrassing. You'll be told that the deputy president has a helicopter landing facility at his land, Ruguru, Kiamariga, 1223 in Madeira. The deputy president simply has no helicopter landing pad on that farm, a small parcel of land with napier grass, unless the mover of this motion can now convince us that new technology has emerged, that napier grass is the constructing material for landing pads for aircrafts. That's the only way it can make sense. But because it doesn't make sense, good people, you'll agree with me, it moves from the false through the ridiculous to the embarrassing. Now let's deal with it. You'll be told the deputy president has amassed a wealth portfolio amounting to 5.2 billion shillings. Elementarily, we must then look at the particularization. Tell us which one is what plus which one is what plus which one is what to amount to this 5.2 billion. This figure, the origin, is only known to the mover of this motion. There is nothing on the body of the motion. There is nothing in the documents attached to the motion. There is nothing in the video clips to be played by the mover of this motion that tells us mathematically how he arrived at this figure of 5.2 billion shillings. Then when the charges were read, distinguished senators, you had some 22 companies being read one by one. Thank you. 22 companies. A number of things will surprise you. You'll just find a company listed called Spiritway Limited. Nothing in this motion tells us what wrong has this company done. Nothing in the motion, completely. It just listed there the way it is. Fortis Vis Group Limited. Nothing in this motion tells us what wrong has Fortis Vis Group Limited done. They're just companies whose names have been listed, and we have spent the taxpayers' money this afternoon listening to these companies' names being written with nothing in this motion telling us. So what wrong has Dorcas Rigathi Foundation done? What act are you complaining of for that company? What omission are you complaining of in respect of that company? Heartland Supplies Limited, you just find a name of a company there. No wrongdoing is alluded to it. No allegation is made against it. They're just companies thrown there. Distinguished senators, the Romans called their assembly, which was the equivalent of this Senate, the patres. It was an advisory council. That name was derived from an old Latin word meaning father. Senate derives its name from the Latin word senex, meaning old man. All these words are supposed to address the sagacious, the state of wisdom of the Senate. If this Senate lives true to its historical origin as the patres, if this Senate lives true to its Latin origins as the senex, the old man, the wise man, it will see through these lies, it will see through this ridiculousness, it will see through these embarrassing statements. If time were to permit, I will take you through other allegations that meet the same test of falsehood, ridiculousness, and embarrassment. Fortunately for us, the rules of procedure permit us to cross-examine the move of this motion and the respective witnesses as a way of bringing forth these lies much more clearly. We shall do that when the time presents itself. At the end of it all, we shall beseech you to do two things: to be true to your oath of office as senators, to be true to your oath of office as senators, to pour through this evidence, to listen keenly to this evidence, to make a decision premised on the evidence as tested here in cross-examination. And if you do that, we have no doubt in our mind, you will reach the same conclusion that what has been presented before you as a most consequential motion, perhaps in our lifetime, is false, is ridiculous, is embarrassing. I rest the governor's opening statement.
That is the Deputy President, Council. It's not the governor.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I have been here multiple times on governors, and I think that is what was reigning in my mind. I rest the Deputy President's opening statement. My apologies for that.
Very well. Now, honorable senators will now move to hear the case of the National Assembly. Now, the National Assembly has 3 hours to present its case, meaning all the witnesses, evidence in chief, cross-examination will be given 2 hours. The legal team for the Deputy President, you'll have 2 hours to cross-examine the witnesses as presented by the National Assembly. Clerk, you may now usher in the first witness of the National Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, as we wait for the witness, I crave, if it finds favor with you, one of my assistants could come to help us with turning the pages. I reckon that way we would move much faster. He's called Boniface Mawira. He should be perhaps in the gallery.
That's a valid request. You may proceed. Counsel for the National Assembly, where are your witnesses coming from? They're taking too long.
I think they must be in room 4, Honorable Speaker. Our first witness is the Honorable Ekomas Mwingi Motuse, who was the mover of the motion.
you sure he's not deserted you?
It is always a risk in this type of business, Honorable Speaker, but I'm sure he's around.
So, Council, before you proceed, you first introduce yourself and the team.
Yes, for the record, Honorable Speaker, my name is Mudhomi Viankolu. I'll be doing the exam in chief on behalf of the National Assembly. I shall be assisted in that enterprise by my learned friend, Mr. Peter Manyonge Wanyama. I will cover grounds 1, 5, 6, and 7, and my learned friend will lead the witness in respect of the other grounds in the motion.
May the witness take the oath.
I, Mwengi Mutuse, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before the Senate in respect of the matters before the Senate shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Your 3 hours starts running from now.
So, good afternoon, sir. Again, just for the record, confirm your name and what you do for a living.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Senators, my name is Mwengi Mutuse. I'm the Member of Parliament for Kibwezi West constituency, and I was the mover of the instant motion that is before your consideration in the National Assembly. I am also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya by profession.
So, great. Let's go straight to the motion due to the constraints of time. Honorable Speaker, the motion is in volume 1 of the Assembly's bundle of documents. And allegation number 1 runs from pages 3 to 10 of volume 1. So, without much ado, Honorable Mutuse, let's go to allegation number 1 of your impeachment motion. Can you tell the Senate in very condensed summary what is the grievance you have raised against His Excellency the Deputy President?
Honorable Speaker, honorable senators, on our ground 1 allegation against the Deputy President is that he has violated various articles of the Constitution that we have listed, being Article 10.2a, 10.2b, Article and C, Article 27, Article 73.1a, Article 732b, 75.1c, Article 129, as well as Article 147.1 as read together with Article 131.2c and b. And basically, what we are saying is that the Deputy President in the last 2 years has been in various places within the Republic of Kenya and has been publicizing a notion that Kenya is a company that is owned by shareholders, and only those who have shares in the company called Kenya, according to him, will benefit in terms of development and service delivery from the Republic. And it is our contention that Kenya is not a company. Kenya is a republic that is supposed to serve all Kenyans. And the particular articles of the Constitution that we have cited because of time also speak to the functions of the Deputy President being able to promote national unity and the country, citizens of Kenya being able to receive services and development from the government, including appointments, without discrimination. So that is in short.
Let's quickly go through some of those provisions. If you could be shown the preamble to our Constitution, what does the third paragraph say?
Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, the preamble to our Constitution, and I read the third paragraph, proud of our ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity. Underline ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity, and determined to live in peace and unity as one indivisible sovereign nation. One indivisible sovereign nation.
We'll come to the evidence you have adduced to support this shortly, but are the utterances you complain about consistent with that constitutional provision?
Definitely not at all.
Let's go quickly to Article 10. What does it say?
Article 10(1). The national values and principles of governance in this article bind all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons whenever any of them, A, applies or interprets this Constitution, B, enacts, applies, or interprets any law, or C, makes or implements public policy decisions.
But, honorable member, someone would say these are just utterances and we surely can't remove a deputy president from office because he has a loose tongue or something like that. What is the problem with these utterances in the context of our history as the Republic of Kenya?
Number one, the constitutional context is that they bind all state officers and the deputy president is a state officer. So there are no two ways. You cannot choose the laws to obey and which not to obey. But number two, we have also had an history in our country. All of us would remember that we had clashes in Likoni in 1992 where populations were displaced. We had problems in Molo, every other cycle of election cycle, 1992, 1997. Even most recently, the country almost torn apart during the post-election violence of 2007 and 2008. There are examples within the region. Rwanda, Burundi is still struggling. As we speak today, Congo is fighting. Across the globe, Yugoslavia, there has been problems, Bosnia, all these countries. And they all began from utterances of this nature.
So is it your testimony, therefore, that utterances of the type we're about to see are a threat to the very existence of Kenya as a republic?
Indeed, that is my testimony.
Is our lived history consistent with the submission that those are not utterances that should emanate from the Deputy President of the Republic?
Not just the Deputy President of the Republic, but not from any citizen of the Republic.
But Honorable Mutuse, have you placed any evidence? You say the Deputy President has been doing this for 2 years. Have you placed any material to prove this allegation?
Yes. We have placed videos, evidence in the form of videos that have been recorded in meetings where the Deputy President has been attending, being video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 8, and video 11, which contain utterances of the Deputy President in that regard.
Mr. Speaker, I request we play video number 1 from the National Assembly set of videos.
Sisi lazima tungeangalia nyinyi. Hii serikali ni kampuni na ni ya shares. Si ndio? Ni ya shares. Kuna wenye kampuni, wale wako na shares mingi, kuna wale wako na chache, kuna wale hawana. Sasa nyinyi mliinvest kwa hii kampuni ya William Ruto na Rigathi Gachagua. Sasa lazima mvune. Yule ambaye alipanda atafanya nini? Simulipanda? Simuliamuka mapema? Mukasema mutaki kusikia mambo ya ile system na nini? Muka invest, mukapanda, mukapalilia, mukaweka mbolea, mukamwagilia maji, wakati ya kuvuna ndio huu. Na itakuwa namna hiyo. Najua wengine wananika chifu ati mimi nasema ati wale walipanda wavune kwanza. Iko makosa? Iko makosa? Hata hao watavuna, lakini wangoje. Si wale walipanda ni wavune kwanza. Wakishavuna wavune, ile tabaki kidogo, wale wakupanda waingie, watafute huko nini, ile itapatikana wachukue, wakwende. Si iko namna hiyo? Na itakuwa namna hiyo. Ndio watu wakipiga kura waelewe hii kura ni kusema nini. Hii kura iko na maana. Nyinyi hamwezi piga kelele huko, mpige kelele. Mnasema William Ruto ni bure, hawezi, mnaita yeye majina, alafu akipata, akikawa, mnapiga laini ati mko pale mbele. Ati mnataka mpite wale walisema anafaa ati mkue pale mbele. Inawezekana? Mimi kazi yangu pale kwa Ikulu ni hiyo. Ni kupanga hiyo laini. Hapo ni kazi mimi napanga hapo. Mimi naangalia kwa laini, nikiona wewe ulipanda, natoa wewe nyuma, napeleka wewe mbele.
Because of the constraint of time, Honorable Mutuse, what did these utterances mean and what were they understood by any fair-minded Kenyan to mean?
The ordinary meaning is that there are Kenyans who are supposed to benefit from the Kenyan government, and there are other Kenyans who are not supposed to benefit from the Kenyan government. And His Excellency the Deputy President will make sure only those who voted for the present government benefit from the government. And those who did not vote for the government will not get any benefits because they are not shareholders.
Are those utterances consistent with the national value of human dignity in Article 10B?
Not at all.
Are they consistent with the value of national unity in Article 10A?
Not at all.
Are they consistent with social justice in Article 10(2)B?
Not at all.
What about inclusiveness?
Indeed, they are divisive.
What about equality?
Not at all.
What about non-discrimination?
They are very discriminative.
What about protection of the marginalized?
They do not protect the marginalized, they marginalize them further.
We could go on and on, sir. Are those utterances consistent with any of the articles you claim in ground one have been violated?
Not at all.
Let's play video number 2, Honorable Speaker.
President Rigathi Gachagua again brought up the political shareholding narrative, saying the Kenya Kwanza administration will prioritize Kenyans who voted for it in the distribution of government employment slots and development projects. Well, Gachagua spoke in Nandi County, where he led other government officials in a church service and thereafter a fundraiser at Kurgung Boys High School. Ayub Abdikadir reports.
Mosop constituency in Nandi County offered Gachagua a platform to amplify his narrative about the government being a shareholding entity that apparently belongs to those who voted for it, calling on the people of Nandi County to remain patient as the state works on development projects and employment opportunities that would prioritize Kenya Kwanza supporters.
Rais ako pale. Niko hapo. Huyu Felix ako hapo. Rais mnamjua. Mimi mnanijua msimamo yangu. Ya kwamba watoto wakiwa wengi kuna wale kwanza ya kuangaliwa, si mnajua? Sasa huyu Felix ako pale ndio mwenye kuunganisha mawaya. Mambo yetu tumepanga.
His remarks similar to the last time he sparked public debate by hinting at preferential treatment for Kenyans who voted for the government.
Mambo iko sawa. Chakula iko jikoni, karibu kuiva. Watoto ni wengi, chakula ni kidogo. Iko watoto ya nyumbani, iko ajirani, iko namna hiyo, na nyinyi mtulie. Chakula ikiiva, sisi ndio wenye kupakua. Na watoto tunawajua kwa sura na kwa msimamo. Hatuwezi kuwa confused. Kuna mtu ajua watoto yake.
The deputy president who led other Kenya Kwanza leaders for a church service and thereafter a fundraiser at Kurgung Boys High School also outlined measures.
Let's play. In the interest of time, Mr. Speaker, I want to play all of them, then I'll put the questions. Let's hear video number 3, I believe.
Gachagua says he has no apologies to make over his shareholders' narratives, saying those who voted in the Kenya Kwanza government should reap big from the government.
Well, Gachagua, who was speaking in Nandi County, where he led a fundraiser towards the construction of the ACK Plaza in Kapsabet town, also dismissed claims that there are differences between himself and President William Ruto. Martin Munene has the details.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was in President William Ruto's Rift Valley backyard on Sunday, where he presided over a fundraiser in aid of Kapsabet ACK Church. And here, the DP made it clear that he was not backing down on his shareholders' gospel that has left a bad taste in many people's mouths.
I am unapologetic to demand and to insist that those who believed in William Ruto and supported him to a man have every right to benefit immensely from his government. I have no apology.
Let's play video number 4, 8, and 11 in that sequence.
Serikali, a government is like a company. There is shareholding. Kuna wale who have invested a lot of shares. Kuna wale wameweka kidogo. Kuna wale wamekataa. Lakini wote ni wa Kenya. So ndio tukasema kama wewe umeenda kupanda mahindi, ama wacha nipeane example ya ng'ombe kwa sababu niko Kajiado. Wewe uko na ng'ombe yako ya maziwa. Hiyo ng'ombe imezaliwa ikiwa njau, umeichunga vizuri, umepatia majani, umenunulia dairy meal, umepatia chumvi, umepeleka kwa malisho, umepatia maji, imezaa, imeanza kukamuliwa. Wewe unatakiwa kwanza ukuwe mtu ya kwanza kukamua hiyo ng'ombe na kukunywa maziwa. Serikali, a government is like a company. There is shareholding. Kuna wale who have invested a lot of shares. Kuna wale wameweka kidogo. Kuna wale wamekataa. Lakini wote ni wa Kenya. So ndio tukasema kama wewe umeenda kupanda mahindi, ama wacha nipeane example ya ng'ombe kwa sababu niko Kajiado. Wewe uko na ng'ombe yako ya maziwa. Hiyo ng'ombe imezaliwa ikiwa njao.
We can go to the next because we see an element of repetition. Let's go to the next video.
Mimi nilisema pale Kericho watu ya Azimio wakanipigia kelele. Nikasema Kenya hii kila mtu afanyiwe kazi. Kwa sababu kila mtu analipa kodi. Na hao wabunge wakiongozwa na Kimani Ichung'wa wako pale bunge. Wagawe pesa kwa kila mtu Kenya. Na hivyo ndivyo inaendelea.
Yes, video number 11.
Fika watu ya kukusaidia. Utatafuta.
The good people of Homa Bay, that I am going to work with your leaders, the ones you have elected, so that we can develop our country together. Competition is over. Si tumemaliza mambo ya mashindano? Si tumemaliza mambo ya mashindano? Si ile kazi imebaki ni sisi kuwafanyia kazi sasa? Si ni kweli? Muko tayari kufanya kazi na mimi? Munasema nifanye kazi na viongozi wenu wale mliowachagua. Mimi nawahakikishia nitafanya kazi na wao, ndio tupange mambo ya maendeleo ya Homa Bay, tupange mambo ya maendeleo ya Kenya, ndio tuweze kupeleka taifa letu mbele. Tuondoe umaskini, tupange ajira ya hawa vijana, tupunguze gharama ya chakula, na tupange mambo ya maendeleo ya Kenya, tutengeneze nchi ambayo kila Mkenya anajivunia kuwa Mkenya.
So, Motusa, you know we could play these videos on and on. Unfortunately, time is not with us. But please confirm that you have presented before Senate utterances made by the Deputy President on this theme in Kitui. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In Nandi, is that correct?
That is correct.
In Kericho, is that correct?
That is correct.
In Kajiado?
That is correct.
Please confirm it is in public domain. These utterances have been made in very many other places. These were just illustrations.
Indeed, I suspect they have been made even in the counties represented by the senators seated here.
Have these been isolated aberrations, or has it been a consistent campaign and mantra by the Deputy President across the Republic?
It has been consistent, and as the Deputy President says, unapologetic.
But you also played for us a video where the President is speaking. How does it compare with the utterances and the campaign by his deputy?
The President is preaching national unity, and I believe that is a function assigned to the President under Article 131 of the Constitution, to be a symbol of national unity. And the Deputy President is also required to deputize the President in performance of his functions. And therefore, it will be expected that the Deputy President will take cue. Instead, the Deputy President is contradicting the President.
We have seen these events covered by a major television station, right?
Indeed.
Does that television, to the best of your knowledge, have national or is it local coverage?
National, and sometimes, and some of them regional coverage.
Should the Deputy President of the Republic have the wisdom to know his utterances will be conveyed to the country and the world?
Indeed, yes.
We saw him talking about children that belong to the family, and although we don't use the language these days, some illegitimate children. Who was he calling children from outside the home, or the illegitimate ones?
Looking in totality from all his videos, he must have made those who voted for Kenya Kwanza as the legitimate children, and those who did not vote for Kenya Kwanza as the legitimate children.
We have seen him saying he has no apologies to make, notwithstanding that these utterances, to quote the media house, were leaving a bad taste in the mouths of many people. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yes, he is very loudly clear that he has no apologies to make for referring to Kenya, for saying Kenya is a company belonging to shareholders for the benefit of the shareholders.
That defiance and the stance that he has no apology to make, does it depict the deportment of a man or a woman who should be the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya?
Not at all.
But you heard his counsel say that there must be some extraordinary wrongdoing before we can impeach for mere utterances or for the things you have alleged. To the best of your knowledge, sir, how many vice presidents or deputy presidents has Kenya had since 1963? In your estimate, how many?
11.
11.
11 or thereabout?
Let's say a dozen, 12, right?
Yes.
Do we have in our history since 1963 experience of a deputy president who traverses the country preaching ethnic exclusion?
I don't remember any. The only incident I remember, two incidences, when Jaramogi differed with Kenyatta and he did the moral thing, resigned from government. I also remember an incident, I think it was Vice President Murumbi, who also differed with the then president and did the honorable thing and resigned from government.
Those were the first two vice presidents. Daniel Arap Moi was at that. Do you know of any incident where Daniel Arap Moi was moving around this country as vice president, committing this type of wrongdoing?
No, not at all.
How about Mwai Kibaki?
In fact, even when he was demoted, he continued working in cabinet.
How about Josephat Karanja?
Not at all.
How about George Saitoti?
Even when he was sacked, he continued being loyal to the government of the day.
How about Musalia Mudavadi?
In his short stint, nothing is heard about him undermining his boss.
How about
dividing the country?
Mudi Awori?
Not at all.
Kalonzo Musyoka?
Not at all.
So when we are told there is nothing extraordinary about this wrongdoing, is that consistent with the lived reality of Kenya?
There is everything extraordinary when a country of 46 tribes, someone advocates for the servicing of less than 2 of those communities. Where will the 44 go?
Given the politics of 41 against 1 in 2007 and the post-election violence, would this allegation be extraordinary wrongdoing?
It is an extraordinary wrongdoing. In fact, the post-election violence that resulted from that particular kind of campaign was in itself extremely dangerous to our social fabric and extremely dangerous to our economy.
Given the experience of the Molo and Likoni clashes in the 90s, would this be extraordinary wrongdoing coming from the second senior-most state officer?
Indeed, and also when it is remembered that he was a district officer in Molo when those clashes were happening.
Given what is going on right now as we speak in Tenerife, would conduct like this emanating from none other than the deputy of the president be extraordinary misconduct?
I have seen in news that there are families that are displaced, people have lost property, and if that is not extraordinary, then I do not know what extraordinary means.
Given, sir, and I will summarize this, what this type of campaign achieved in Rwanda, in Burundi, in Sudan, in South Sudan, in former Yugoslavia, in Nigeria, the Biafra War, and we could count and count until the cows go home. Can anyone be heard in good conscience to say that this is not extraordinary misconduct?
Indeed, this is very extraordinary, requiring impeachment.
Please confirm, because we are pressed for time, that the evidence you're relying on this ground applies equally to allegation number 5 of your motion.
Just a minute to confirm.
What is your complaint in allegation number 5? Allegation number 5, Mr. Speaker, will be at page 16 to 17 of volume 2.
Allegation number 5. Just a minute. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, our allegation number 5 relates to gross violation of Article 3(1) of the Constitution and Article 148(5)(a) of the Constitution, which specifically is in relation to the breach of the oath of office and allegiance.
Does the oath of office require the deputy president to promote national unity or the shareholder politics?
The oath of office demands of the deputy president to promote national unity.
And what is your complaint in ground number 6, sir?
In ground number 6,
that again is on page 16 to 17, Mr. Speaker.
Ground number 6 is about serious reasons to believe that the deputy president has committed a crime under national law pursuant to Article 151(b) and 2 of the Constitution.
And what is the specific complaint?
The specific complaint is that there are serious reasons to believe that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has committed crimes under Section 13(1)(a) and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act.
Can you please read for us those sections of the law?
Section 13 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act provides that it is an offense.
Honorable Speaker, that section will be in volume 7 of the Assembly's documents.
That it is an offense for any person to use threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behavior where the person intends to stir up feelings of ethnic contempt, hatred, hostility, violence, or discrimination. The section also makes it an offense to use words or engage in such behavior when, having regard to all the circumstances, ethnic hatred is likely to be stirred up.
Is ethnic hatred likely to be stirred up by this campaign of shareholding?
Obviously.
Is it likely to stir up ethnic contempt?
Obviously.
What does Section 62 say?
Section 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act states that a person commits an offense when the person makes statements that are intended or are likely to stir up feelings of ethnic contempt, hatred, hostility, violence, or discrimination.
Are the utterances by the Deputy President likely to trigger any of those things?
Yes, indeed.
As a matter of fact, Honorable Mutuse, that law you just read, National Cohesion and Integration, wasn't it the law Parliament enacted to ensure we never go back to where our country was in 2007, 2008, because of utterances like this?
It was pursuant to the post-election violence, and the country resolved that we needed a law as a result. And therefore, it is a law that is supposed to ensure that we in office live to promote national unity and not the opposite.
Given that history and why that law exists, sir, we repeat the question. Has the Deputy President committed ordinary or extraordinary wrongdoing?
He has, under Article 150 of the Constitution, in relation to this ground, there are serious reasons to believe that he has committed wrongs against the National Cohesion and Integration Act, and if extraordinary in nature. And if you allow me, these are not my words. I have been accused of urging the National Assembly to believe me. These are not my words, they are words of the Constitution under Article 150.
Thank you. I want us, Mr. Speaker, we're urging the Senate, if you consider the evidence so far adduced, then that evidence applies to ground 1, 5, and 6. So we are prosecuting them together to save on time. Let's go to allegation number 7, sir. Mr. Speaker, that allegation runs from pages 17 to 31. It was the one you were told runs from falsehoods, culminating in the embarrassing and other things. Let's see whether it is actually falsehoods, embarrassing, and the other adjectives that we were told. And I would urge members to work with me by holding volume 2A of the Assembly's documents, together with our volume 6. 6, I only mention it briefly. Please confirm, sir, at page 2 of volume 6, who, as between you and the Deputy President, as passions were cast, that you're referring to irrelevant material about the estate of the late Rigathi Gachagua. Between you and the Deputy President, who has brought up this issue of the estate? Is it you or is it him?
In the response by the Deputy President, on page 2 of volume 6, he did bring out the issue of the estate of his late brother in response to the allegations that he has acquired properties worth 5.2 billion within the period that he has been Deputy President.
So we'll come back to that document much later. I'm only mentioning it now, sir, to clear the air, whether it is you trying to whip emotions by bringing up this matter, or it is the Deputy President attempting, by his own response, to hide behind the shadow of his late brother.
I never mentioned any of my deceased relatives. I have them, but I never mentioned any. The Deputy President is the one who mentioned his deceased relatives.
He's actually the one who has brought this material, isn't it?
Indeed.
Good. Now we'll come to it. Let's go back to your allegation. Ground number 7, sir. Can you tell the Senate in summary, we are so pressed for time, what is...
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, under ground number 7, our allegation is that there are serious reasons to believe that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, has committed crimes under Section 45(1), 46, 47A3, and 48(1) of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, as well as Sections 2, 3, 4, and 7 of the Proceeds of Crime and the Money Laundering Act. And in short, during the short period that I was doing research on this motion, I have come across properties that are registered in the name of the Deputy President or in the name of his children or other proxies that run cumulatively to a value of about 5.2 billion. And there is no clear trace of where the monies to purchase those properties came from, and therefore, under the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, qualify to be unexplained assets. Number two, I have also listed companies that are associated with the Deputy President, 22 of them. And these companies, you look at the objects and purposes, they are all the same. And it is our theory and our evidence that these companies have been used for money laundering. Similarly, I have also listed companies that have been transacting with the office of the Deputy President, the office held by the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, with tremendous respect. And they are being paid from that office, and we have laid ground for serious reasons to believe that these companies are actually conduits for corruption, and that political responsibility, even when he's not the accounting officer, rests with the highest holder of that office. And that is the case we are making here. And we shall be showing the connection between the properties and His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. And in a case of unexplained assets, it is upon the person to show where they actually got the money to buy the assets. We have evidence that the assets belong to him.
Let's begin with the companies, Honorable Mutuse. You said you have attached Form CR12 to your motion.
Indeed, I have attached Form CR12 being evidence of ownership of those companies.
Would that be the Form CR12 on pages 8 all the way to 32 of Volume 2A?
Indeed, yes.
Honorable Speaker, it's Volume 2A, pages 8 to 32. It actually begins, Honorable Speaker, it's me who is mistaken. It's from page 1 to 32, right?
Indeed, yes.
And because we are stressed for time, sir, does this document show in black and white that the majority of these companies, the directors and shareholders, are either the Deputy President or his sons or his spouse?
Yes, they do, and senators will have opportunity to look at the Form CR12s. Many of them are under 2 weeks old, so they are very recent.
Let's go to the question of the purchase
and
of...
You can also independently confirm from the e-Citizen portal, it is only 650 shillings to do as a company search.
You have mentioned Treetops Hotel and Outspan Hotel in paragraph 45A.
Yes, indeed.
Let's confirm whether this is false, ridiculous, or embarrassing. Did the Deputy President issue a public address on the 7th of October in which he admitted acquiring these 2 hotels?
Yes, indeed, and it is part of our evidence.
So with that admission from him, can he be here to say your allegations are false, ridiculous, and embarrassing?
That is not expected from the son of Mau Mau.
But let's go to page 33, sir, of your volume 2A.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've been patiently waiting and restraining myself from
Pause the time for the National Assembly, please. Proceed, Council.
I've been constraining myself when listening to the proceedings, and Council is testifying instead of the witness testifying. Number 2, he's asking leading questions in examination in chief, and Council understands the rules of examination.
A case in point, you're very general. A case in point?
The Hansons, Mr. Speaker, sir, will bear as witness, and the Senate is a custodian of the Hanson.
Council, I'm very alert. Any leading questions before you take your feet? I'll be able to object to it. I'm very alive to that. Proceed, Councillor.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker. Let's go to page 33, sir. What is that document? On volume 2A?
On page 33, this is a discharge of charge between Wayne Holdings Limited and Aberdare Safari Lodges Limited.
Yes.
Drawn by the firm of Hamilton, Harris, and Matthews.
On page 34, what is given as the amount of the loan being discharged?
The loan being discharged is 143,885,042 shillings.
Please confirm this loan is being discharged as of 30th October 2023.
Yes, the loan is being discharged as at of 30th October 2023. And the loan was to Aberdare Safari Hotels Limited.
Would that mean this hotel was indebted before the Deputy President acquired it?
It was in evidence.
To what amount?
143,885,042 shillings.
Let's go to page 37. What is that document you have annexed, sir?
The document I've annexed here is the transfer instrument, transfer to companies and limited liability partnerships.
Yes.
It is it's a document ordinarily that is used to transfer
interest in what?
Interest in property from one party to the next.
And who is acquiring that property according to this document?
The property, as at this time, belonged to Aberdare Safari Hotels Limited and is being transferred to Crystal Kenya Limited.
Is Crystal Kenya Limited a company linked to the Deputy President?
Yes, indeed, and we have annexed the Form CR12.
In which page?
The Form CR12 is on page 23 of our
Volume 2A.
Of our Volume 2A.
Who are given as the directors there?
The directors are one, Keith Ikino Rigathi.
Who is that?
That is a son to Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
And the second director is Kevin Gachagua Rigathi.
Yes.
Also a son.
Now let's go back to 37. As the Deputy President in his response explained, where he got more than $500 million shillings, and to be precise, 535 million to acquire this hotel.
To begin with, the consideration for this transfer was Kenya shillings 535 million, and this needs to be added to the loan of 143 million.
Yes.
Cumulatively.
Yes.
So that you get the value, because the value of in terms of what was the purchase.
Yes.
In his response, and I have seen it, the Deputy President alludes that he got a loan of 600 million, that when he became Deputy President, he used to run this company called Crystal, but when he became Deputy President, he gave it to his children to run it. And he goes further to say that he got a loan of 600 million from the Credit Bank of Kenya.
Has he actually placed before this Senate evidence of the disbursement of any such loan?
I have seen a letter of offer for that loan, but I have not seen any evidence of disbursement nor any charge in respect of that loan.
Is a letter of offer loan evidence that a loan has actually been given?
A letter of offer is just that, an offer.
That letter is annexed of offer, says that as security for the supposed loan, there will be directors' guarantees. Has he annexed those directors' guarantees?
To the best of my recollection, I have not seen them.
It says the loan will be secured by personal guarantees. Has he also annexed those personal guarantees?
I have not seen them.
Has he annexed any security known in the banking world for acquiring a loan of this amount?
What I have seen is, what I have seen in the letter of offer is at, I'm looking at it, is in terms of the lien and set-off at
Yes.
page 132 or 534, is that lien and set-off of a fixed
Please
deposit.
say which volume you're referring to on the page so that the Senate will walk with you.
Council, the senators would wish to know where the letter of offer is contained. Which volume?
The letter of
and
offer,
what
Mr. Speaker,
Which page? What page?
It's in volume 6.
is in volume 6, starting from page 98.
Yes, walk us through that letter of offer.
So there is a letter of offer, meaning there was an application for a loan. And this is to the directors of Crystal Kenya Limited. Crystal Kenya Limited is the company that is acquiring Aberdare Safari lodges. And the loan is in respect of an amount of 600 million. And in the clause for lien and set-off, I have seen that a lien and set-off or fixed deposits, this is on page 99, in respect of INO Crystal Kenya Limited for an aggregate amount of 300 million to be obtained. Interest accrued shall be credited to your deposit settlement account.
Let's stick to that one for now. From elementary banking knowledge, what do we conclude from this issue of the 300 million?
My understanding is that the account held at the bank had 300 million shillings in cash, and that that amount was going to be part of the security for the loan.
So it means the deputy president or his sons had already cash in that account of 300 million shillings.
Yes, which is also an asset that we are counting in accumulating the 5.2 billion.
Now let's count that 300 million, 535 million, and the 143 million that had been to be paid to pave way for this transaction.
Indeed, yes.
In estimate, that would be like how much money?
535 plus 300
is 835.
835 plus 143, roughly $1 billion shillings.
Roughly $1 billion shillings.
In respect of one transaction.
Just one property. Now, if the deputy president were to save all his net salary for 10 years, would he be able to have savings of $1 billion shillings to acquire this hotel?
Not at all.
But because
from the non-source, legitimate source of income, which is his salary as deputy president, as gazetted by the SRC, roughly around 1.2 billion after taxation, an aggregate of $1 million shillings, it would not be possible to acquire $1 billion shillings within a period of 2 years.
Now, these three figures, sir, whether it is the 143 million, or the 300 million, or the 535 million, as the deputy president in his response offered any legitimate explanation of how he or his very young sons came upon this incredible fortune of money?
Nowhere in the response, other than the letter of offer that is in itself not evidence of acquiring a loan.
At page 39, who are shown as the parties to this transaction for Abadere's Hotel?
Page 39 of
volume 2A.
Page 39 of volume 2A. The parties to this transaction for Crystal Kenya Limited, Kevin Gachagua Rigathi and Keith Ikino Rigathi. For Aberdare Safari Hotels, there is Robert Gadenji.
Yes.
And Kenneth Waiboshi.
Are those two gentlemen you mentioned first relating to the Deputy President?
Indeed, they are his children.
As a matter of fact, Honorable Mutusa, and will do it in the closing statement, does our Public Officer Ethics Act or the Leadership and Integrity Act, faced with facts like this, permit the Deputy President to hide behind his sons?
Not at all.
Is he allowed to hide behind any of his relatives?
Not at all.
What about his spouse?
Not at all.
So even if the Senate were to accept, for argument's sake, that this company is run by the sons and whatnot, would that, based on our Public Officer Ethics Act or the other act, which is the leadership, and would that be a valid answer to this unexplained wealth?
Section 35 of the Leadership and Integrity Act.
Please say the volume you're reading.
I'm reading from volume 7 in our bundle of documents at page 34. Acting through others. A state officer contravenes the code if the officer A causes anything to be done through another person that would constitute a contravention of the code if done by the state officer, or allows or directs a person under their supervision or control to do anything that is in contravention of the code.
Mr. Speaker, acting through others is what previously I've called it wasn't me. But let's jump to page 79 of volume 2A.
Yes, we are here.
Again, this is documentation for that same property the Deputy President admits he acquired, right?
Yes, through Aberdare. Just for contextualization, Aberdare owned 2 hotels.
Yes.
There is Treetops Hotel.
Yes.
And there is...
There is which one?
Outspan.
Yes.
Outspan is the one that we have demonstrated how it was purchased. Treetops is a property developed by the Kenya Wildlife Service, but it was under the same management of Aberdare, so they were acquired together.
So let's pause at it is owned by the Kenya Wildlife Service.
Yes.
Is the Kenya Wildlife Service a public or a private entity?
A public entity funded by the taxpayers.
Under our Chapter 6 laws, that is the Public Officer Ethics Act, the Leadership and the Integrity Act, if you want, you can even draw the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, whichever law. Is it consistent with all those laws for the Deputy President of the Republic to acquire without competitive bidding an interest in a resource owned by the Kenya Wildlife Service?
It is not. And in fact, the Deputy President is on record in these proceedings as having said that he advised his family not to transact with government. But we are going to demonstrate that he actually transacted with KWS.
And KWS is a public entity?
And KWS is a public entity.
If this hotel were to be leased or sold, or whatever the language, would there be a requirement for open, competitive, and transparent bidding?
Section 45, which we said we have reasonable grounds to believe that the Deputy President has breached of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. And I'm reading our volume 7 at page 23, states as follows: protection of public property and revenue. A person is guilty of an offense if the person fraudulently or otherwise unlawfully A, acquires public property or public service or benefit, B, mortgages, charges, or disposes of any public property, C, damages public property including causing a computer or another electronic machinery to perform any function that directly or indirectly results in a loss or adversely affects any public revenue or service, or fails to pay any taxes or any fees, levies, charges payable to any public body, or effects or obtains an exemption, remission, reduction, or abatement from payment of any such taxes, levies, and fees. Section 46, about abuse of office. A person who uses his office to improperly confer a benefit on himself or anyone else is guilty of an offense.
Now, let's go to page 81 of volume 2A, sir. It's still about Treetops Hotel.
Page
81 of volume 2A.
I'm there.
Can you read for us the last sentence of the second paragraph?
This is a letter. This is a letter from the Kenya Wildlife Service.
Yes.
To Mr. Amos Kisilu of Kisilu and Wandati Company Advocates.
It's a letter dated when?
The letter is dated
at the top left. What is the date?
5th of June, 2023.
Was His Excellency, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of Kenya on that date?
Yes.
It is addressed to who?
It is addressed to Kisilu, Wandati and Company Advocates.
In the Deputy President's own response, is that law firm indicated as one of the law firms he uses?
Yes, indeed.
Good. Now read for us the second paragraph of that letter, beginning with the word however.
However, the tenant is in rent arrears of Kenya shillings 35,481,548, and lodge has not been operational since 2019, which has resulted to deterioration of the same in breach of the lease agreement.
So we are being told this hotel a number of things. One, it has not been in operation for 4 years, correct?
Indeed.
And as a result, it has accumulated rent arrears, correct or incorrect?
And deteriorated, which in effect means it requires renovation money.
Now let's go to page 80 where the Deputy President develops interest in the hotel.
I'm here.
Can you read the opening line of that, the first paragraph of that letter?
Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, this is a letter from Kisilu, Wandati and Company Advocates to the Director General of the Kenya Wildlife Service. The opening sentence reads as follows. We act for a party, into brackets our client, who is interested in taking on an assignment of lease of the Treetops Hotel Lodge as defined in the lease agreement dated 31st December 1998 between yourselves and Aberdare Safari Lodges Limited, the lessee.
Please confirm this is a letter by the Deputy President's lawyers.
This indeed is a letter by the Deputy President lawyers, but funny enough, against any all professional knowledge in terms of how you write letters, they do not disclose their client. They just say,
we act for a party. Who is our, does that letter disclose the identity of the client anywhere?
No, it doesn't. And it is a requirement that you must disclose the client even as you move ahead.
Is that how lawyers usually write letters in honest, genuine transactions?
Not at all.
Good. Now let's go.
And I am one of them, so I know.
Let's go to page 83 of volume 2A. What is written there?
Page 83 is a letter to Dr. Kanga, Director General Acting, Kenya Wildlife Service from Aberdare Safari Hotels.
So,
it is about Treetops Lodge debt and lease.
Please hold 83 together with 81. In 81, we are told the hotel has not been in operation for 4 years, and that's why it's in rent arrears, right?
Yes, rent arrears of upwards of 35 million.
And that is on which date?
This is on 5th of June, 2023.
And the letter at page 83 is on what date?
It's 7th of July, 2023, a month later.
How many days in between, roughly?
Roughly a month, 30 days or so.
Roughly a month. And what does this letter say?
The letter says, I refer to Treetops rent arrears debt of Kenya shillings 35,481,548 and 14 cents, and I am pleased to inform you that the Aberdare Safari Hotels Limited has today paid via RTGS bank transfer amount of 34,869,797 to KWS main collection standard chartered bank account, and the amount of 611 to KRA for 2% withholding tax.
So, Honorable Motuse, what do you have to tell the Senate of the fact a company that was in arrears for 4 years, 35 million, it is in distress, it's not in operation, the Deputy President shows interest, and suddenly it is able to pay these arrears of that 5 million?
The Deputy President must be magical. Associating with the Deputy President must be very magical, because you have not operated for over 4 years, you are in debt, you have not been able to service that debt for 4 years, but you have just interacted with him for a month, and you pay your debt overnight.
Now, when you see that, sir, is it consistent with the narrative that your allegations are false, ridiculous, and embarrassing?
Not at all. Indeed, our allegations are backed up by cogent evidence, as we have demonstrated.
What is the document at page 85 of volume 2A?
At page 85, this is a letter by Kenya Wildlife Service to one Ken Waiboshi, who is the managing director of Aberdare Safari Lodges, and it is acknowledgement of funds.
How much money?
We acknowledge, the letter reads as follows in paragraph 2, we acknowledge receipt of Kenya shillings 34,481.
As the Deputy President in his response explained, the mysterious availability of these 35 million shillings when he comes to the picture?
I have not seen anywhere where he explains where this money came from.
Page 87, what is that document?
At page 87.
Oh, volume 2A, Mr. Speaker.
This is novation and assignment of lease agreement and addendum to lease dated 31st December 1998 and 27th July 2023, respectively, between Kenya Wildlife Service, Aberdare Safari Lodges Limited, and Crystal Kenya Limited, the company of interest.
Does this confirm, just like the deputy admitted, that he actually acquired Treetops Hotel?
Indeed, it confirms, and it is not. It has not been contested.
Is your allegation, therefore, Mr. Motuse, about Treetops, false, ridiculous, and embarrassing?
Come again?
The evidence you just taken the Senate through about Treetops Hotel, is it consistent with the narrative of a move of motion who makes ridiculous, false, and embarrassing claims?
Not at all. It demonstrates that our allegations are not malicious. They are backed.
Let's go to his response in volume 6. It should be page 8, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Speaker. Eight of volume 6.
Yes, there we are. Volume 6. On page.
Okay. Is page 9?
Yes.
At the top of page 9, what does the Deputy President in his response to the National Assembly tell it?
He says, in respect to Crystal Kenya Limited, this company was incorporated in 2009, way before I became Deputy President.
Let's pause there. Is that a valid response to your motion, the date when the company was incorporated?
I am interested in what the company did when Mr. Rigathi Gachagua is Deputy President, and not when the company was incorporated.
Okay, read for us the next line.
I transferred the company to my sons when I became Deputy President.
Is that a valid answer given the things we've just seen about Treetops and Outspan?
It confirms that the sons indeed are acting on his behalf.
Read the next line, please.
It acquired Outspan Hotel and Treetops Hotel following financing by a local bank. I also gave the company a personal loan from funds which were returned to me by the Asset Recovery Agency. I wish to clarify that Treetops Hotel was not bought. It is leased from KWS. The lease was assigned to Crystal Kenya Limited by a private company, Aberdare Safari Hotels Limited. I have annexed the facility letter dated 24th October, as well as the company resolution to borrow Kenya shilling 600 million and marked as Annex RG 14 and Annex RG 15 respectively.
Let's go to page 44. This relates to the property called Rogoro Kiamariga 1223.
This is in volume 2?
2A. Volume 2A, Mr. Speaker, page 44. Please confirm from the Deputy President's response whether he has admitted acquiring this property.
Yes, he admits acquiring the property, but goes ahead to make some justifications.
Page 44, Mr. Speaker, volume 2A. The justification he makes is to what effect?
Is that the acreage is different.
Yes.
And also that he bought it for 3.5 million and
Yes.
not 5 million as alleged.
Now, let's go to that page 44. What is that document?
This is a document transferred by personal representative to person on intestacy. Basically,
and who is given that transfer? Who is making it?
A certain Naftali Guandraru Gadhogo.
Can you read the opening line of that document?
Public Trustee of the Republic of Kenya, of PO Box 49672 Nairobi, as personal representatives of Naftali Garandau Gadhogo, deceased, hereby transferred to Hannah Gadhongo Mugo. Absolutely.
Who is the public trustee a public officer?
The public trustee is a public office. Under
what circumstances, to the best of your knowledge, does the public trustee obtain letters of administration of an estate, in this case, the estate of the deceased Naftali Gwandaru Gadhogo?
In terms of the law of succession, the public trustee only steps in where there are no beneficiaries of a deceased person's estate.
The person to whom the trustee is transferring, is there a picture given there?
Yes, it is given, and I will invite honorable senators to look at it.
What observation do you want them to make about it?
Well, this is a photograph of, I do not want to say disheveled, old lady who signs by appending her thumb, signifying probably she was not even aware of the transaction.
Has she signed or affixed a thumbprint?
A thumbprint.
On the face of it, does that look like a privileged or vulnerable and marginalized Kenyan?
The very vulnerable.
Mr. Speaker, sir, kindly allow me again to bring to the attention of the Assembly that the advocate is leading the witness. He has put a question. Does that, in your own imagination, look like a vulnerable person?
Objection sustained. Counsel for National Assembly, stop leading the witness.
I'm much guided, Mr. Speaker, so we'll proceed. We're on page?
We are on page 44.
44. Did the Deputy President, in his response, disclose that this property initially belonged to a deceased person?
No.
Did he, in his response, disclose that this property was initially vested on the public trustee?
No, he didn't.
Let's go to his response at paragraph 1.4.2, which is on volume 6, Mr. Speaker. Page 4 of volume 6. Can you read paragraph 1.4.2 of the Deputy President's response?
I purchased the land in the year 2023 for Kenya shillings 3.5 million for my farm proceeds. Some of you are aware that I have dairy farm with close to 200 cows.
Now, let's see who is saying things that are embarrassing, false, and ridiculous. What is the price he has said he acquired it for in that page?
3.5 million Kenya shillings.
Let's go to the agreement he has attached to show how he purchased this property. It is at page 63 of the same volume.
I am here.
Clause number 3, what is given as the purchase price?
The purchase price is Kenya shillings 5 million only, to be paid as follows.
Is that consistent? Volume 6. We are holding, Mr. Speaker, volume 6, pages 4 and 63. No, it is page 4 of 534 and page 96 of 534. The problem, Mr. Speaker, is there are two sets of pagination. So the one we refer to is the one that says of 534. So we are talking of page 4 of 534. You hold that together with page 96 of 534. My apologies, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, go to page 4 and page 96 of
534. Of volume 6.
Yes.
We'll shortly take you to the paragraphs.
Mr. Speaker, you know I'm under a lot of pressure because of the time. That's why sometimes. So, are we all there, honorable senators? Good. Can you read again for the Senate on page 4 of 534 what the Deputy President says was the purchase price for this property?
This is land parcel number Ruguru, Kiamariga, 1223 in Madeira East constituency. That is on page 3. And on page 4, the Deputy President says, I purchased the land in 2023 for Kenya shillings 3.5 million for my farm proceeds.
Let's pause it there. He bought it for 3.5 million. Let's go to the document he has annexed to prove that he acquired this property for 3.5 million. It is at page 96 of 534.
Indeed, this is agreement for sale of the whole of LR number title Ruguru Kiamariga 1223, measuring approximately 2.5 acres. And under clause 3, the purchase price is Kenya shillings 5 million to be paid as follows.
Given this inconsistency, sir, is it fair for the Deputy President, when he is lying on his own document, to accuse you of presenting material that is false, ridiculous, and embarrassing?
It is not fair, and also, especially when one of our allegations against the Deputy President is that he consistently misleads the public.
He says that he bought it in the year, back to page 4 of 534, in the year 2023. Was that during his tenure as Deputy President?
Indeed.
He says he has a dairy farm there with 200 cows.
Indeed, he says so.
In his presser on the 7th of October 2024, what did he tell the country was the source of these 200 cows?
If I remember correctly, in the televised address by the Deputy President on that fateful night, he did say that the Kalenjin people of the Rift Valley have gifted him the cows that he keeps in his farm.
Can you now read for us Article 76(1) of the Constitution, what it says about gifts given to public officers?
Article 76, financial property of state officers. 76(1). A gift or donation to a state officer or a public or official on a public or official occasion is a gift or donation to the Republic and shall be delivered to the state unless exempted under an act of Parliament.
Has the Deputy President presented any evidence that he surrendered these gifts to the state?
He says that he has kept them in his farm.
Wouldn't that be an admission by his own public statement of violating Chapter 6?
Indeed, it is an admission and should be treated as such.
Let's go to the land in Meru. Have you placed any evidence to prove this allegation?
I have placed evidence to prove that the Deputy President indeed acquired land in Meru, and to the best of my recollection, he has also admitted in his response to having bought land in Meru.
I now want you to hold volume 8 against, again, the Deputy President's response. Yes. Let's go to, first of all, volume 6, which is the Deputy President's response. What does he say about the Olive Garden Hotel? In summary, it's clause 1.1.1 all the way.
For clarity, Council, so
Yes.
we leave the issue of Meru, we come to.
We'll come to it later, don't worry. Let's deal with Olive Garden Hotel for now. Volume 6 of, which is the Deputy President's response.
We made an allegation that the Deputy President has bought Olive Garden Hotel through proxies.
Volume 6, page?
Volume 6, page 2 of 534.
2?
Yes, page 2 of 534.
Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, in my motion, I made allegations that the Deputy President has bought the Olive Garden Hotel, initially owned by his late brother. And in response, the Deputy President said as follows: the allegation that I own Olive Garden Hotel is false. The truth is that Olive Garden Hotel used to belong to my deceased brother, the late Honorable James Nderitu Gachagua, and therefore has never been my property. This is information that most of you may be aware of, as it is in the public domain. Upon his demise, my late brother left a will in which, in his recognition that I am an honest man.
We can leave it there, and honest man is written in bold, right?
He appointed me as one of the executors of his estate.
Now, is the DEP's response about Olive Garden, which runs from page 2 to 3, consistent with the affidavit in the National Assembly's volume 8 by Peterson, Jomo, Mushira?
Maybe so that we can point members. On volume 8, we have the affidavit of Mr. Peterson Jomo Mushira. And
Tell us in summary, because we are so pressed for time.
Peterson Jomo Mushira says, I have personal knowledge of one of the issues raised in the special motion for the removal from office by impeachment of Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President. I have personal knowledge of the facts relating to the sale of Olive Garden Hotel, which initially formed part of the estate of the late Nderitu Gachagua. Given the matters set out in the preceding paragraph, I am competent to swear this affidavit. I decided to swear this affidavit after my attention was drawn to contradictions between the contents of part 1.1 on pages 1-2 of the response that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua filed at the National Assembly on 8th October in opposition to the special motion for his removal. B, remarks made by Honorable Okomas Mwengi Mutusa when prosecuting the motion at the National Assembly, and remarks made by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah at the National Assembly. Remarks made by members of the Assembly.
Let's go to the next paragraph in the interest of time.
I wish to clarify and state as follows. I am a shareholder and director of TM Civil Engineering Limited, the company referred to in the agreement annexed on pages 10 to 34 of the Deputy President's response to the motion. On around 31st of March 2023, the Deputy President approached and convinced me to purchase the Olive Garden Hotel, which was at the time part of the estate of the late Nderitu Gachagua.
Let's go to D.
In D, he averts that in summary...
Now let's go to C.
No, C. The Deputy President persuaded me to enter into an informal secret arrangement, regarding the transaction embodied in the agreement annexed on page 10 to 34 of his response to the motion. In summary, the terms of the secret agreement were that, 1, the Deputy President would buy the hotel from me by refunding the purchase price of 412 million set out in the agreement annexed on page 10 to 34 of his response. 2, the Deputy President would instruct and pay a contractor to renovate the hotel after the completion of the transaction embodied in the agreement. 3, to protect the Deputy President's undisclosed interest in the hotel, I would appoint Ms. Julian Jahenda as the signatory or agent for the hotel's account at the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. And 4, to further protect the Deputy President's undisclosed interest, Mrs. Juliani Jahenda will run the hotel.
That Ms. Julian Jahenda, is it the same person mentioned in volume 8A on page 1 of 19. Volume 8A.
Yes, this is a letter from the Public Service Commission.
So does that mean we have two sources, one being Jomo Mushira? It is.
We are on volume 8A, page 1 of 19.
And there is an entry there, the third name in that table.
If you look at the names, you have the first one, the second one, and the third one is Maka Juliani Jahenda.
Is that the same?
Who is a deputy director in charge of coordination in the presidency at the office of the deputy president, working on a local contract.
Who is the author of this document?
The author of this document is the Public Service Commission of Kenya.
Does this document, is it consistent with what Johnson Mushira said in his affidavit about Julian Jahenda?
It shows that Julian Jahenda is a staff and a close associate of the deputy president, and she's the same person who was seconded to manage his interest at the Olive Garden Hotel.
The acquisition of this hotel through a secret arrangement from the estate of his brother, is it consistent with a honest man as written in bold font in his response?
It is indeed consistent with our allegation that His Excellency, the Deputy President, raided the estate of his late brother and acquired properties directly and through proxy.
Lastly, from me, so that Mr. Wanyama will wrap up, let's go to the Vipingo property that also belonged to the estate of his brother.
And for senators to note, this is another 535 million, 412 million in terms of the purchase and renovations, another extra millions of money, and there is no disclosure as to where the money was coming from.
Now let's go to Vipingo Beach Resort, which again the Deputy President wants to hide under the shadow of his late brother, who is given on page 18 of volume 2A as the directors of Vipingo Beach Resort Limited. Volume 2A, page 18 of 123.
Volume 2A, on page 18, we have annexed Form CR12, dated 27th September 2024, for Vipingo Beach Resort Limited, and the directors are Keith Ikino Rigathi and Kevin Gachagua Rigathi, and the estate of deceased James Nderito Gachagua.
So let's begin with Kevin, who is the son of the Deputy President. Was he an executor of the will that the Deputy President has annexed to his response?
No, the will was to be executed by the Deputy President, Mr. Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Advocate Njoroge Rogeru, and Mr. Maina. So the children of the Deputy President were not executors of the estate, and therefore cannot be said to be in the directorship of this company by virtue of the will of the late Rigathi Gachagua, because they were not named as executors of his estate.
So is this document on its face consistent with his defense that this hotel belongs to his late brother?
It flies on the face.
But let's see whether he actually acquired it. Let's go to volume 4, page 107 of 484.
I am at volume 4, page 107.
What is that document, sir?
This is a joint will executors report on the status of the estate as at 27th February 2024. This is the estate of the late Nderito Gachagua.
And what does it tell us about Kuruwitu Home Resort in Roman 3 on that page?
The broad headline is sale of estate's assets. And it lists number 1, Queensgate, Olive Garden Hotel, and then Kuruwitu Home Resort.
Yes.
And it says as follows. The resort was sold to Kuruwitu Properties Limited for Kenya shillings 250.
What page is that volume? That's
This
volume
is,
4.
Volume 4, Mr. Speaker, page 107 of 484. Volume 4, Mr. Speaker, page...
We can continue?
Yes, proceed.
Kuruwitu Home Resort. The resort was sold to Kuruwitu Properties Limited for Kenya shillings 250 million only.
Let's stop there.
Yes.
Is Kuruwitu Properties Limited, to which this hotel or resort was sold, a company linked to the Deputy President?
Indeed, and we have annexed in our volume 2A.
Yes.
If Honorable Speaker and Senators would go to our volume 2A of our exhibits at page 8. We have volume 2A, page 8. We have annexed the form CR12 in respect of Kuruwitu.
And who are shown as the directors there?
The directors are Vipingo Beach Resort Limited.
But let's also interrogate.
Vipingo Beach Resort Limited, which we have demonstrated that is owned by Honorable Rigathi Gachagua's children.
Back to volume 4, page 111 of 484. Can you read at the top the sentence that begins with, for instance?
This is, we are at page 111, and this
of 484, Mr. Speaker, volume 4.
This is still, this is for, so that we, this is still the joint will executors report, and at the top there, at page 111, for instance, the sale of Kuruwitu Beach Resort cottages and Olive Gardens Hotel was done after beneficiaries were appraised in the meeting of 24th June 2023, cited herein before. Significantly, the beneficiaries themselves in their meetings with one of the executors, underline one of the executors, approved the sale of Kuruwitu Home Resort to one of them, underline one of them.
Where is
who is also an executor, underline who is also an executor.
Who is the executor and beneficiary being referred to here?
The only executor and beneficiary of the late Rigathi Gachagua's estate, as named in the will and as named in this joint report, is one Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Where is this property located, Honorable Mutuse?
Vipingo Beach?
Yes.
Should be somewhere in the coast.
Back to page 107 of volume 4. In his response, as the Deputy President explained where he got the sum of Kenya shillings 250 million to purchase this property.
In fact, he denies buying the property.
Mr. Speaker, I will cede the floor now to my learned friend, Mr. Wanyama, to prosecute the remaining grounds of the motion.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll proceed from where my colleague Mudhomi has left. Honorable Mutuse, can you go to ground number 2 of your motion?
We'll be there shortly.
I think that's page 10 of volume 1.
Here we are.
Yes, what is the nature of this ground? What are you complaining about?
We are complaining that the Deputy President has on numerous occasions violated Article 147(1), as read together with Article 152(1) of the Constitution of Kenya. And in particular, Article 147(1) provides that the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant of the President and shall deputize for the President in the execution of the President's functions. While Article 152(1) of the Constitution states that the Deputy President is a member of the Cabinet. And in particular, through Cabinet communique, as you are aware, after every time there is a Cabinet meeting, there is normally a press release that is released. And we were aware of a decision of the Cabinet of the 30th of April 2024, where the Cabinet passed a resolution to evacuate members of the public for their own safety from the 30-meter riparian zone of the Nairobi River.
Yes.
And when that decision was made, insofar as I understand processing of business in the Cabinet, the Deputy President sat in Cabinet. The Deputy President is one who chairs Cabinet subcommittees which process business before going to Cabinet, and therefore, to my own understanding, he was fully involved in the making of that decision. However,
okay, just to cut you short because of time, the allegation is that the Deputy President has been undermining the President.
Yes.
Do you have evidence in your motion that support this allegation?
Yes, I have evidence.
Which evidence is this?
The evidence is in respect of the Cabinet resolution regarding the evacuation of the riparian, of the settlers around the riparian area, in that area, and our evidence is contained in the affidavit of Ms. Mercy Wanjau.
Where is this affidavit of Mercy Wanjau?
The affidavit of Mercy Wanjau is to be found on page 78 to 80 of volume 1.
Has the DP admitted these allegations?
Yes, the DP has admitted the allegation to say there was a Cabinet resolution, but he went against it.
Where is the admission contained for purpose of the Hansard? The admission by the Deputy President?
If you look at paragraphs 10.1.1 and 10.1.3 of the DP's response.
Yeah.
Volume and page.
Volume 6, page 19 of 534. Paragraph 10.1.1, he says as follows. The Office of the Deputy President has undertaken extensive engagement with all parties in regard to the Cabinet decision on eviction, which I fully support, including the Nairobi River, which is an entity under the ODP.
Okay. I think we can stop there. So yes. In your opinion, as the move of the motion, can the government of Kenya function if the Deputy President and the President are not reading from the same page?
It will be very difficult for the government to function and to deliver effectively to the people of Kenya when the two highest office holders are reading from different scripts, and especially when the Deputy President, for political expedience, would disown decisions of the Cabinet in a meeting that he sat through to make a decision.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, have you annexed any videos to prove this allegation?
Yes, indeed.
Video number?
We have annexed video number 10. Video number 10.
Video number 10.
And also video number 10.
What does video number 10, what is it all about?
Maybe they can play it for honorable senators to see for themselves.
Can you play video number 10 briefly? Mr. Speaker.
Watu ya Kayole, tangu mtupatie nafasi ya uongozi, sijapata nafasi ya kuja kusema asanti. Nataka kutoka kwa roho yangu, watu ya Kayole, asanteni sana. Mimi najua nimeona iko shida ya watu ambaye walibomolewa, si ndio?
Maybe you can,
na nimeona mumeandika vizuri
Mr. Speaker, sir, because of time we are
ya
requesting you play at
mteue kamati ya watu wachache
at
ndio
1
mkuje
minute
niketi
25,
na nyinyi.
1.25
Utakubaliana?
Because of time.
Mimi ningetaka wale watu ambaye walipata shida hii ya ubomoaji, ambaye ni kitu tulikuwa tumeahidi wananchi haitafanyika kwa serikali yetu. Mimi ningetaka niwasikize na nitapanga na Mheshimiwa Meja Dong wakuje ndio tukue na nafasi ya kuongea.
Let us not have a war with wananchi. Tusipigane na wananchi wale walituchagua.
let us be empathetic. Let us, if people must move, let there be an engagement and let people get adequate notice so that they can prepare for their next life ahead. You can't wake up one morning and terminate people's life. Let us not have our...
Mr. Speaker, so we can stop there because of time. The video has been submitted as part of the evidence from the National Assembly. Honorable Mutuse, let's go to ground number, allegation number 3, ground number 3 very quickly. What is it all about? What is your complaint in the Senate? In ground number 3.
Our complaint to the Senate is that the Deputy President has undermined devolution.
Why do you say so, briefly?
We say so because there was a lawful decision by the City County of Nairobi about...
Which is this lawful decision? You can be specific.
The City County of Nairobi did make a resolution
yes,
to relocate traders from CBD to Kangundo Road.
Uh-huh.
And the Deputy President, through evidence that we have...
Is that decision to relocate traders a county government function?
Yes, and Senate, because it is a house that is created under Article 96 to protect the interests of counties, would take notice that markets under Schedule 4 is an exclusive function of counties.
Yes. Have you submitted any video evidence to support this allegation that the Deputy President has undermined the devolved government system, especially the county government of Nairobi?
Yes, video 12 and video 13, where members of the Senate shortly will see that the Deputy President went to Wakulima Market and incited members of the public not to obey lawful directives of the City County of Nairobi. We have also, as part of our evidence, annexed the sworn affidavit of Mr. Johnson Sakaja, the governor of Nairobi, with averments to that effect. This is at page 81 to 85 of our volume 1.
Okay, I think the video is part of the evidence. It's part of the record. So why do you complain about this in the Senate? Why are you complaining?
The senators want to see the video, want to hear, see and hear the video.
Can we play video 12?
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja spearheaded for yet another round of an influence contest of the capital city, with the Deputy President putting the governor on notice over the alleged mistreatment of traders in the city. And as Citizen TV's Melita Olatengas reports, the latest rupture in the relations between the two have been compounded by the broader tribulations of Gachagua, who sees himself as being sidelined by the Kwanza State House.
2 years ago, downtown Nairobi, in the thick of the campaign trail, and fast forward to this on Friday. In the same style and fashion, he returned to Marikiti, heightening the standoff with Sakaja over traders' relocation. Gachagua says he made a promise that he holds dear, but the governor seems to be having a different vision for the county.
Mimi siwezi laumiwa ati watu ya mlima ni wengi hapa Marikiti, kwa sababu hiyo ni Mwenyezi Mungu aliamua. Na hao watu ya mlima wanasema walikuwa wengi, wakikupigia kura kwa nini ukulalamika ni wengi?
Nobody should imagine that they can micromanage the county of Nairobi from anywhere. No one should imagine that we will suspend devolution in Nairobi from anywhere.
A stop.
So, Honorable Mutuse, is that act by the Deputy President impeachable?
It is impeachable in the sense that the two levels of government have been assigned their roles and their functions under Schedule 4 of the Constitution.
Yes.
And the Constitution and Article 6 requires that the two levels of government, much as they are independent, they also respect their functional independence. And that if the county government makes a decision, it is upon them to implement that decision. You would realize much as Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya, cosmopolitan, when the Deputy President went there, he addressed Kenyans in his native language.
Is it compatible with the status of Deputy President to address these core issues at a marketplace like this?
It is not consistent. The expectation was that through the intergovernmental relations framework that is already established in law, there would have been a formula to deal with that issue outside the rally.
Which is this framework that you are talking about? The framework that you are talking about for intergovernmental relations, to be specific. Eh?
Well, we have the Intergovernmental Relations Act. And it will be expected that the Deputy President, being the chair of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee and also IBEC, would have exercised his responsibility under the law and those responsibilities to call a meeting with the City County of Nairobi to deliberate on those issues if indeed there were complaints from the citizens of Nairobi in a manner that is consistent with the formal running of a government.
Okay. I think because of time, we can move to allegation number 4. Are you there? Just go to your motion, allegation number 4. What is it all about? Explain briefly to the honorable senators. Allegation number 4, I believe it's at page 14 of your motion.
1 minute. Yes, here we are. Now, our ground 4, Mr. Speaker and honorable senators, is gross violation of Article 161 of the Constitution, specifically undermining the institutional and decisional independence of judges.
Hold on, Honorable Mutusi. What do you understand by the word gross? You're using it in a context, and I think it is important you explain briefly. What do you understand by the meaning of the word gross?
My understanding of gross violation of the Constitution, I don't know whether I will be speaking in my knowledge as a lawyer or just as a...
Just give your opinion. What is gross? It goes into the answer there.
I think gross violation of the Constitution, the best would be found in the Wambora decision.
Okay.
The Wambora decision did define what gross violation of the Constitution means.
Yes.
And it is said it is the violation of Article 10, Article 1, and several articles of the Constitution. I do not have the particular citation, but to my mind, I think it's paragraph 46 of that decision.
Okay. So let's go back to allegation number 4, ground number 4. What is it that you're complaining about in this ground? In summary?
We are complaining that the Deputy President did threaten in a manner that displayed personal vendetta the person of Esther Maina, a judge of the High Court of Kenya, and the reason for threatening her with filing a motion, a petition for a removal from office, was particularly in relation to a decision that she made in a case that was involving the Deputy President by finding that assets to the tune of cash 202 million that were held in his company's accounts were proceeds of corruption and money laundering. And for making that decision, the Deputy President, against the provisions of Article 161, threatened the Justice Maina with corruption and with removal from office.
Yeah, this decision that you're talking about, Justice Maina's decision, where is it? You can point it out to the honorable senators. This decision, the judgment of Esther Maina.
Honorable senators, Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, in our volume 2A, at page 60 all the way to page 77, we have annexed the judgment of the Honorable Judge Esther Maina, where many of the companies that we have stated in the other allegations are listed here as companies that are conduits of corruption and money laundering.
Which companies are these in the judgment? Just maybe you can name a few of them so that we are more specific for the answer.
You have heard us talk about Crystal Kenya. Crystal Kenya is here.
You're saying Crystal Kenya is mentioned in the judgment?
Yes, this is on page 64. And many, many others. So that with Wamonyoro Investments, you have heard us mention Wamonyoro Investment. Wamonyoro is mentioned here several times.
So what is the conclusion by the judge in that judgment, the decision that you are complaining about?
The judge said that in the upshot, the originality motion is granted in terms of prayers 2. This is page 77 of 123 in our volume 2A. That a declaration is hereby issued that the following funds are proceeds of crime and therefore liable for forfeiture to the state. And they are listed there: 165 million held in a certain account at Rafiki Finance Bank, 35 million in the name of Rigathi Gachagua, 773,000.
How much in total did the judge find to be money that the Rigathi Gachagua at the time had obtained through proceeds of corruption?
An order is hereby issued that the above funds be forfeited to the government of Kenya and transferred to the Assets Recovery Agency, and the amount is about 200 million shillings.
So he finds Mr. Rigathi Gachagua to have obtained 200 million shillings, is that correct?
To have been unable to explain
200 million
how he obtained 200 million shillings.
What did the judge do after that finding?
The judge directed that the amounts be forfeited to the government of Kenya through the Asset Recovery Agency, which is the body created under the Proceeds of Crime and Money Laundering Act to take care of money laundering.
Yeah, Mr. Ongoya, for the deputy president who was here, and the family stated that that you have no ground at all to bring this allegation in the Senate. What is your specific